Greetings, YouTube. If you caught my channel Friday night / Saturday morning, depending on what time you're obviously viewing a video, or what time zone you're in, you would have seen that I called about my excitement for good old our man, 6-star Iceman. I still wish he had some Omega Red like regen, especially with like a special 3. I still really enjoy using him, but it's hard to justify having him be, well, worth putting into a really stacked mutant lineup when you have full suicides on. I realize that at times it can mean more damage, but it just seems like a cost-benefit analysis. So, whether it be making him even have more utility and more, say, frostbite damage, etc., that's exciting. And it's exciting that they're not just doing it in like a new synergy, but they're actually doing it with his base kit. And we'll obviously know more about that soon. But when I talked about Iceman, I got a couple messages saying, Prof, why didn't you cover the other news? And I thought, I should do that. If I call this podunk little MCOC channel a news channel, I might as well not skip the news on their decision as I darken the screen and go to the actual official forum post. Shout out to Earth25 and his birthday, and also for sending me over. Hey all, Balance team here with an update on Spider-Man Supreme and Spot. Spider-Man Supreme, the mystic version of Spider-Man, was designed with some specific matchups in mind, such as the rich get richer path at Alliance War. We're happy to see players using Mystic Spidey, aka Benedict Spider-Batch, on this channel. In Alliance War and Battlegrounds versus some strong cosmic defenders such as Cersei, Nova, and Vision Arcus. So far, we're pleased with how he's performing in the Battle Realm, and we'll be leaving him as is. Spot, on the attacking side, we're seeing players become more comfortable with Spot's portal block and untouchable mechanics, and are happy to see him doing very well in Battlegrounds. We're expecting to see more Spots show up in decks as more players acquire him. On the defensive side, we're hoping to see Spot make an impact in Alliance War alongside the newer unsteady ground tactic, and we're happy with what we're seeing so far. All in all, we're happy with how he's performing and won't be making any changes. And then I already covered the Iceman update. So, on the surface, this isn't really that big of a news break. But in general, for the growing trend, I know I talked to KT1 about this when I interviewed him last year. But I know Kabam has a tendency to not want to make somebody so bad that they're like not worth going for in the arenas or certainly in crystals. But they also want to make somebody so good that they're worried that they're going to be the next Hercules or Kitty Pryde, that both those champions, according to Kabam's interview with KT, would have gotten some form of a nerf if the balancing program had existed when those champions were in the game. And so it does feel like most of the time the champions just kind of hover in the middle, or maybe you think not only do they not hover in the middle, but they also have crazy good prestige. First, we're talking about Infamous Iron Man, and now we're talking about the 2 new champions for the month of January. Not just Mr. Absorbing himself, but certainly Baron Zemo at the top of that. So yeah, prestige is a way to dangle the carrot on making money, even if the champion turns out to not be the best Battlegrounds defender or the best attacker. But I think in general, we should celebrate this trend. That's my takeaway. We should celebrate this trend that Kabam hasn't nerfed a champion they've released yet. Now, are there going to be times where we wish that they could be even better? Yes. And sometimes they say champions could be even better that we didn't know needed to be better. Specifically, like Nebula and Human Torch come to mind when I think about that. But as a channel that likes to be consistent with keeping things 100, or as one subscriber once said, keeping things 1,000, whatever the heck that means, I think it's important, regardless of how many views a video gets or doesn't get, to be open-ended, open-sided. I like the term both-sided because that implies that there are an equal 2 sides to every issue, and I think that's literally not only lazy journalism, but also just not true. But at the same rate, there are going to be people who just only watch the videos that tend to be critical of Kabam on my channel, and while that's depressing because I don't think it's fair, I've accepted the fact that that's just the reality of cognitive dissonance at its finest. But I'm thankful I can point to videos like this where I say, look, I guess you didn't watch that video praising Kabam for not nerfing anyone. We were convinced for a while that Omega Sentinel might get touched up. Certainly, Infamous Iron Man might get touched up. And there were even conversations about how we think there's like a 90% chance that Galactus gets nerfed. All in all, no. Not for him, not for Hulkling, not for anybody. So Kabam, thank you for resisting the temptation to make champions worse, especially champions that people grinded for in the arena, etc. Speaking of the arena, I need to do a video on the arena cleanup because it's been a year since that's happened and we haven't got an update on that. And a lot of people have been screwed over because of that in the last year. So be on the lookout for that video. In the meantime, good job, Kabam. Thank you for doing your job.